All right, let's dive right into this explainer. You know, for a lot of us, seeing that net worth finally tick over the $750,000 mark, man, it feels like crossing a massive finish line, doesn't it? You've hustled, you've saved, you did the hard work. But, and here's what the source material we're looking at today reveals, the exact moment your net worth hits $750,000, you're actually entering the absolute most dangerous phase of your financial life. If you don't shift your strategy right now, you literally risk losing it all. Why? Well, because the exact same habits you used to build that wealth are usually the very habits that are going to quietly unmake it. So, we're going to look at exactly why crossing that $750,000 mark demands a complete, fundamental shift from wealth accumulation to wealth preservation.
Just look at the sheer scale of the math once you hit this level. A totally routine 2% market swing in an average trading session, that just moved your portfolio by $15,000. And that happens before you even finish your morning coffee. To put that into perspective, according to Fidelity, the median 401k balance at the end of 2025 was just over $44,000. It's kind of wild to think about, right? A completely normal, everyday blip in your $750,000 account gains or loses more money in a few hours than a lot of Americans manage to save for retirement in an entire calendar year. The stakes are just massively magnified now.
Think of it this way. When your net worth was, say, 50 grand, you were basically driving a speedboat. If you made a mistake or a bad investment, you could just gun the engine, turn hard, and correct it fast. You could absorb a loss with maybe a year or two of really aggressive saving. But at $750,000, you are no longer in a speedboat. You are now at the helm of a supertanker. And supertankers do not turn on a dime. They take literal miles to slow down. A wave that would capsize a speedboat barely even rocks a supertanker, sure, but if you make a mistake that splits the hull, that cannot be corrected in the moment. You become incredibly vulnerable to slow, unseen leaks, and the rules of navigation just have to completely change.
Leak number 1, hidden fees and the tyranny of compounding costs.
So let's actually start identifying these leaks, because honestly, most people cross that $750,000 mark and they're still sailing like they're in that speedboat, completely ignoring tiny percentages. But we really need to start looking at these as raw, actual dollar amounts. Let's run the numbers here. On a $750,000 portfolio, paying a seemingly standard 1.2% advisory fee means you are essentially writing a check for $9,000 every single year. And get this, the advisor collects that exact same payment whether the market is up 15% or down 20%. When you're just starting out, a 1% fee on 10 grand is what? $100? Annoying for sure, but fine. But at this stage, the cost of a 1% expense ratio compared to, say, a 0.1% ratio, that represents a massive 22.4% loss of ending wealth after 30 years of compounding at 7%. That is not a rounding error, folks. That is hundreds of thousands of dollars completely drained from your supertanker.
The legendary investor John Bogle actually hit the nail on the head. He called it exactly what it is. Compounding costs are tyrannical. Because, you know, the real damage isn't just that 9 grand you paid in year 1. It's the opportunity cost. It's the compounding growth that simply never happened on every single dollar that left your account. Over 3 decades, every dollar taken out today would have become over $7. So the indirect cost of those fees, it's absolutely staggering.
Leak number 2, lifestyle creep and the shifting reference class.
Now, it's really absolutely crucial to frame this one properly. This is not some moral failing or a lack of character. Actually, it's an automatic, clinical, human response to wealth. When you hit a new financial tier, your brain starts whispering this really dangerous, expensive lie. I've arrived. Consider a 2024 survey which found that 36% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because wealth growth almost automatically triggers spending growth. Your baseline, your reference class, it just shifts upward. When you have $750,000, you start moving in different rooms, right? The neighborhood you're eyeing, the cars your peers drive, the restaurants your professional network frequents, they all scale up. What felt like this crazy, extravagant splurge when you had $150K net worth suddenly feels like a standard, reasonable baseline at $750,000. You start justifying slightly nicer things, and slowly but surely wants just reclassify themselves as needs.
But let's apply that supertanker math to that slightly nicer lifestyle for a second. A really modest $2,000 a month increase in your spending redirects $24,000 a year straight away from wealth building. Invested at a 7% annual return, that 24 grand every year for 10 years becomes roughly $330,000. That slight lifestyle upgrade didn't just cost you 2 grand a month, it literally cost you $350,000 in foregone compounding. And the scariest part, you simply do not feel that momentum loss while it's happening.
Leak number 3, sequence risk, the invisible calendar threat.
Okay, so this is the structural leak that totally blindsides people who did everything else right. It's a risk that your standard run-of-the-mill retirement calculators almost always miss completely, mostly because they rely on average returns. It's called sequence of returns risk. And what I found really staggering in the research is that 77% of your final retirement outcome is dictated by the returns of just your first 10 years of withdrawing money. 77%. It's not about your stock picks, and it's not even about your savings rate anymore. It's literally about the calendar. It's the sheer, unpredictable, dumb luck of what the market happens to do the exact moment your life changes and you start pulling money out to actually live on. Think about it. When you were accumulating wealth, a 20% market crash was honestly great. It was a buying opportunity. You got to buy shares at a massive discount. But during the distribution phase, that same 20% drop is catastrophic. If you need cash to pay your electric bill or buy groceries, you become a forced seller. You have to sell those shares at fire sale prices, and once they're gone forever. They can never participate in the eventual market recovery. Your supertanker is basically taking on water in a massive storm, and you have absolutely zero ballast.
The tale of two tankers, Marcus versus Jordan.
To really cement how these 3 leaks interact with each other, let's look at 2 people who are starting with the exact same supertanker, a $750,000 portfolio, but they're navigating it with completely different strategies. First, we have Marcus. Marcus is still operating like he's in a speedboat. He feels like he earned a reward, so he upgrades his lifestyle immediately. He's paying a 1.2% advisory fee without even thinking about it. He's got an outdated will, no umbrella policy, and a cash buffer of exactly 0. Then, on the other hand, we have Jordan. Jordan consolidates accounts into low-cost index funds under a 0.1% fee. Jordan freezes their lifestyle for 3 whole years, just letting compounding carry the weight. But most importantly, Jordan builds a 24-month cash buffer and gets an umbrella policy. Now, when a market crash hits in year 2 of retirement, Marcus is forced to sell his equities at the absolute bottom. Jordan, however, just uses that cash buffer to pay the bills and doesn't sell a single share while the market recovers.
So, what's the result of all this? One single Saturday of administrative work, literally just consolidating accounts, auditing fees, and adjusting automated savings, creates a $600,000 difference in ending wealth. Plus, it adds 15 extra years of portfolio longevity. That gap? That is not the market's fault. That gap is entirely driven by a handful of really deliberate choices made right at that $750,000 mark.
3 essential defensive moves to build your moat.
So how do we actually fix this? How do we stop treating this supertanker like it's a toy boat? Well, the wealthiest people build moats around the money they already have. Let's rapid fire through these defensive moves. First up, the fee audit. Pull every single account you have and translate those percentage fees into actual hard dollar amounts per year. If it's draining thousands, it's time to move to low-cost index funds. Second, automate restraint. Whenever your income increases, immediately autosave 50% of that net increase before you ever even see it hit your checking account. Just freeze the lifestyle upgrade. And third, defensive paperwork. Update your beneficiaries, write a will, and please get a $1 million umbrella policy. Seriously, an umbrella policy costs just $300 to $400 a year. Yet an estimated 1 in 5 wealthy people don't even have one. They leave a massive net worth totally exposed to a single random lawsuit, like a car accident or a contractor getting injured, just because researching index funds feels like investing, while paperwork just feels like boring admin.
As the legendary Charlie Munger once pointed out, the first $100,000 is the hardest part to accumulate. It takes hustle, it takes risk, and it takes really aggressive action. But protecting $750,000? That requires something entirely different. It requires the discipline of patience, restraint, and honestly, doing almost nothing on purpose. Lazy, patient investing builds and preserves so much more fortune than frantically reacting to every single market headline. Which brings us to the ultimate question for this explainer. Are your current financial habits acting as a moat around your life savings? Or are they quietly unmaking all the progress you've spent decades building? Because at $750,000, you have to do this, or you risk losing it all. The number you protect will always outlast the number you chase. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you some incredibly valuable perspective on your wealth journey.